Back with the WMAY morning news feed. I'm Greg Bishop, and the State House coming back to session tomorrow. They're going to hold a special session just about a little over a week from when they held another special session to deal with legislative maps. But this one, the House is going to take up a pretty sweeping energy proposal that could change the state of Illinois' energy landscape over a quarter of a century. Some of the top line items are subsidizing nuclear power, subsidizing renewable energy, closing coal-fired plants by 2045. What's the impact going to be on the manufacturing sector? Now we join with Illinois Manufacturers President and CEO Mark Denzler on the WMAY morning news feed to get the latest. Mark, of course, we've been watching this thing come together piecemeal. A lot of closed-door negotiations, some attempts to bring this up during the tail end of spring session, even the Senate going into overtime. But then things fell apart, and then it comes back, and everybody was kind of anticipating something as to what we're seeing play out now with some special session days carved out. And now we have an actual special session for the House coming back. But I don't know what bill it's going to be. Is it going to be Senate Bill 18, or is it going to be a different Senate bill? Or what's the latest you've heard on what exactly this proposal is going to be? Good morning.
Well, good morning, Greg. Thank you for having me. And this is a very important topic, and it's something that impacts every resident of Illinois and every business in the state of Illinois. And it's going to have, as you noted, a profound impact on the energy marketplace, particularly impacted the manufacturers who I represent, who use 1/3 of all energy in the United States. And so any change to our competitive marketplace really has an outsized impact on the industrial sector in the state. But at the end of the day, a couple of things we know. And one is this is going to be the most expensive rate hike in Illinois history. And so every household is going to pay more for electricity. Every business is going to pay more. But, there's discussions about decarbonization and the use of renewable energy and what we do with our nuclear fleet, which is critically important to Illinois. I will say that nuclear power is nearly half of our energy, and it operates in the middle of polar vortexes and 100-degree weather. So, lawmakers are looking to see what they can do to make sure that the nuclear fleet stays open. But this is a substantial change in Illinois' energy market that we probably will see a vote on this week.
Mark, when it comes to some of the issues concerning reliability, you mentioned nuclear, but we see a lot of that supporting parts of northern Illinois. When it comes to southern Illinois and central Illinois even, do we have that as part of the ongoing grid infrastructure where we can draw from that baseload energy created by nuclear, or do you foresee that coal power is still going to be very much what's drawn upon to get that base load energy that's needed, not just to turn the lights on at home, but to keep manufacturers manufacturing?
Well, and that's a great point, Greg. We think lost in this whole discussion, there's been little to no discussion of cost and reliability. In the MISO territory, which is southern and central Illinois, Illinois has two regional grids, and in the MISO or southern central Illinois grid, we're already a net importer right now. We have the Clinton nuclear power plant, but one of our concerns is if we shed baseload capacity, if they close coal or gas-fired facilities, and we don't have the energy to backfill that, then we are going to have reliability issues. We've seen that in California, who most recently announced 5 new gas plants because they were having supply issues, and they were having rolling brownouts and blackouts in California, and that's something we want to avoid here. And Greg, they have an ambitious plan to get to 40% renewable energy. And manufacturers are committed to sustainability. I've got to note that we've increased our output by 18% while reducing emissions by 21% over the last decade. So we're not saying no to anything, but you have to have a plan. You can't just close baseload capacity and then when we don't have enough power, say, oops, what are we going to do? How are we going to go back and fix it? And if we don't have the capacity here in Illinois, we're then going to have to go out and be a buyer. We lose that competitive advantage that we enjoy today, being among the bottom 10 states when it comes to energy. So, again, legislators and the governor need to think about reliability and make sure that we have those electrons when available when we need the power.
Now, lawmakers have said that this is not going to be the end of the discussion, even if this passes, this sweeping measure to change the policies for energy production in the state of Illinois over the next quarter of a decade, or quarter of a century, rather. Then, they could come back in a couple of years and deal with these things. But one thing I have yet to see is what kind of production is wind and solar going to have? Is it going to be something that, I don't know, 2 years from now we all of a sudden see some incredible breakthroughs? Or you're in the manufacturing sector, Mark, with the Illinois Manufacturers Association. What can you tell us? What's on the horizon? Are we going to see a revolutionary change to renewable energy that's going to be able to replace the power of coal-fired generation?
Well, I think manufacturers, it's a great point. We not only use it, we create these new energy sources. And manufacturers are committed to sustainability, and we're making improvements and new technology literally every single day. But our concern, again, is it's great to have aspirational goals. Renewables are certainly an important part of the energy mix, along with nuclear and coal and natural gas. But again, Greg, I would point out that the state originally had a goal in 2007 to have 20% renewable by 2020, and then they increased it to 25% by 2025, and now we want 40% by 2030 use of renewables. But if every current project on the drawing board and everything that's been built, we're still less than 10% renewable. So we have to jump from 10% to 40% within a decade, which is going to be extremely difficult. And again, this is replacing good baseload power. And we need to make sure, again, that power is generated in polar vortexes in the heat of summer because, as we all know, the sun doesn't shine 24 hours a day and wind doesn't blow 24 hours a day. And so, again, we've got to be very concerned about the impact on reliability. And in Springfield, particularly CWLP power plant, that, as you know, has bonds, and we're impacted here that if they shut down that facility early, we may still be on the hook for paying bonds while not getting power from that facility. So it's really got a profound impact on Springfield as well.
And the indications are that there's going to be added to the proposed bill regulations with regular increased carbon remediation imposed upon coal-fired power plants like CWLP and Prairie State Generation Facility. Mark Denzler with the Illinois Manufacturers Association with us on the WMAY morning news feed to react to a sweeping energy proposal that the Illinois House could take up when they return for a special session Thursday. That's tomorrow. But Mark, of course, with this is going to be, potentially hundreds of millions of dollars in ratepayer subsidies for Exelon. They're on slate for closing down a couple of their nuclear generation facilities without something like this from the state of Illinois. But you've also got the subsidies for the renewable energy. Do we have an estimation as to how much of an increase in utility rates this could mean for consumers, not just residential, but even for those large consumers like manufacturers?
Well, we are, and that's one of the concerns. So the members of the General Assembly believe it's quote unquote only a 7.1% increase for industrial ratepayers. According to some of our discussions with the utilities, we think it could be as high as 12 or 15%. Commercials, so your restaurants and your bars and your grocery stores, probably somewhere between 5 and 10% increase. And for residential, they're looking $4 to $5 a month at least. AERP anticipated it could be as high as $15 a month for residential customers. So, that's one of the things. They haven't done a whole lot of cost studies to really determine what the impact is on rates. And then secondly, jobs, they talk about, adding 6,000 renewable energy jobs. And some of these are short-term jobs, but, they're not talking about what's the impact going to be on the loss of manufacturing jobs that are good, high-paying jobs, because once those jobs go away, they're probably not coming back to Illinois.
Mark Denzler, Illinois Manufacturers Association. I know you're watching this closely, and we'll check back in to get your reaction to whatever happens with this proposal tomorrow when they return for a special session in the Illinois House. Greatly appreciate it. Be safe out there, all right?
Thanks, Greg. Take care.
It is the WMAY morning news feed now 8:20, and your forecast today. We're